Welcome to your deep dive. It looks like you're fascinated by the idea of connection. You've given us a great article and a YouTube video, both about Daniel Goleman's social intelligence.
Yeah.
And we're going to unpack how our brains are wired for empathy
Oh.
and how that impacts, well, everything,
Mm.
from our closest relationships to even bigger societal issues.
Absolutely. And what's so intriguing about social intelligence is it goes way beyond just being likable.
Right.
You're going to discover how social intelligence impacts things you might not expect,
Okay.
like stress healing and even how we deal with fear.
I'm ready to dive in. Both sources talk about this idea of empathetic accuracy,
Yeah.
and it seems like it's more than just knowing how someone feels.
Right. It's not just about recognizing sadness or joy.
Uh-huh.
It's about understanding the why behind those emotions.
Okay.
Imagine being able to see the world through someone else's eyes and understanding how their past experiences shaped their feelings in this moment.
Yeah.
That's the power of empathetic accuracy.
The YouTube video really brought this to life with that anecdote about the psychologist who completely misread social cues during an experiment.
Yeah.
It made me realize how differently we can all interpret the same interaction.
It's a great illustration of how our own biases and experiences can color our perceptions.
Yeah.
In that experiment, one person thought someone was embarrassed while another thought they were being flirted with.
Oh, wow.
It makes you think twice about jumping to conclusions.
Absolutely. So how do we get better at reading those subtle cues and understanding where someone else is coming from? The video mentioned asking you-centered questions.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
It's a powerful technique. You-centered. Questions shift the focus away from your own assumptions and toward genuinely understanding the other person's world.
Okay.
Instead of asking, is everything okay, you might ask, what's been on your mind lately?
Mhm.
Or instead of saying, that sounds frustrating, try, how did that situation make you feel? It's about putting them at the center of the conversation.
That's such practical advice, and it makes me wonder how different cultures might have completely different rules for empathy.
Yeah.
The video talked about that Japanese psychologist who was surprised by his American host family.
Yeah, it's a hilarious example,
Huh.
but it highlights a crucial point. Cultural norms play a huge role in how we express and interpret empathy.
Yeah.
What might be considered polite in one culture could be seen as intrusive in another.
Oh, I can definitely see how those misinterpretations could lead to some awkward moments or even bigger relationship problems if you're constantly misreading cues.
Yeah,
It's like everyone's speaking a slightly different emotional language.
exactly. And if we zoom out to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
this understanding of diverse social norms becomes crucial for building strong relationships, both personally and professionally.
Okay.
In our increasingly globalized world, navigating cultural differences with empathy is essential.
Okay, so we know empathy is important, but is it something we're born with, or can we actually learn to be more socially intelligent? Are we stuck with the brains we're born with?
That's the age-old nature versus nurture debate,
Mm-hmm.
and the research suggests it's a bit of both.
Okay.
We're not just stuck with our initial wiring.
Mm.
Think of it like this.
Mm.
We have the potential for social intelligence, but our experiences shape how that potential develops.
The video used that study about babies and their reactions to new toys.
Yeah.
Some were fearless and others were hesitant.
Exactly. Some babies were naturally drawn to novelty, while others were more cautious. But what's fascinating is that the researchers found that parenting styles could also influence a child's boldness.
Ah,
Imagine a naturally cautious child whose parents constantly shelter them.
yeah.
They might become even more timid, but if those same parents gently encourage their child to explore, offering support and reassurance,
Mm-hmm.
that child could become more adventurous over time.
That makes so much sense now that you mention it. I can think of friends who were really shy as kids but blossomed into outgoing adults, and it
Mhm.
seems like their families really encouraged that growth.
It's a powerful reminder that our brains are incredibly adaptable and that experiences can shape our social behavior in profound ways.
Wow.
This brings up a really interesting question.
Okay.
What role does fear play in developing social intelligence?
Now that's counterintuitive. We usually think of fear as a negative emotion that holds us back.
It can be,
Hmm.
but the sources highlight how fear in small doses can actually be beneficial for our social development.
Okay.
The YouTube video used that somewhat dark example from the movie Chicken Run,
Oh, yeah.
where the chickens are constantly afraid.
Yeah.
but ultimately pushes them to escape.
Right. I remember thinking that plot seemed a little intense for a kid's movie, but it makes sense now.
Yeah.
It illustrates how facing fears can lead to resilience and growth.
Exactly. And there's that fascinating study with the squirrel monkeys,
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
where the monkeys who were exposed to controlled, manageable fear,
Mm-hmm.
things like a robot snake that wasn't actually dangerous, actually became more adventurous over time.
Wait, so the monkeys who were exposed to a little bit of fear ended up being braver?
Precisely. Think about a time you were afraid to try something new.
Okay.
Do you think controlled exposure to that fear, like those monkeys experienced, could have helped you overcome it faster?
That's a great question.
Hmm.
I've always been terrified of public speaking,
Okay.
but maybe if I had started with smaller presentations, I wouldn't have been so anxious when I had to give a big speech in college.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about how we approach challenges and discomfort.
That's a perfect example that willingness to step outside of your comfort zone, even when it feels scary, is a key component of social intelligence.
Mm.
It allows you to connect with people in more authentic and meaningful ways.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is the research suggests that this ability to manage fear and uncertainty can be trained.
Okay.
It's not just about innate bravery.
That's encouraging, but what happens on the other side of the spectrum? What are the implications when people lack social intelligence?
Well, the sources link low social intelligence to a range of negative outcomes, from struggles in personal relationships to even bigger societal issues.
Okay.
It's not just about being awkward at parties.
Right.
It can have serious consequences.
The study about men's views on sexual violence was especially disturbing.
Yeah.
It seems like a lack of empathy played a role in how some of the participants viewed consent and coercion.
That's right. And it's a sobering reminder of how important social intelligence is for fostering respect and healthy relationships.
Mm-hmm.
When people lack empathy and the ability to understand other perspectives, it can lead to harmful, even dangerous behavior.
This is all making me realize that social intelligence is about so much more than just being charming or popular. It's
Yeah.
about building strong, healthy relationships and contributing to a more just and compassionate world.
Couldn't agree more, and it brings to light a potential downside.
Okay.
Social intelligence burnout. We can't be on all the time.
The video mentioned caregiver stress and how constantly being in that empathetic mode can actually impact your physical health, like weakening your immune system.
Yes. There's a lot of research on this. One study focused on women caring for partners with Alzheimer's disease.
Oh, wow.
These women were incredibly loving and dedicated,
Mm.
but the chronic stress of caregiving, even stress that comes from a place of love, took a serious toll on their well-being.
So it's like your empathy reserves get depleted.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's not that these caregivers were lacking empathy. It's that they were experiencing social intelligence burnout from constantly giving without replenishing their own emotional resources.
This is a crucial point, especially for people in caregiving roles. So what's the solution? How do we prevent ourselves from burning out while still maintaining strong social connections and being there for others?
That's where the importance of building a strong support network comes in.
Yeah.
Think of it as your social safety net.
Mm.
It's essential to have people you can rely on for emotional support, practical help, and even just a break from the demands of caregiving.
Yeah.
This allows you to recharge and avoid that depletion of your empathy reserves.
This makes me think about the importance of social connection for healing and recovery in general, not just for caregivers.
Absolutely. The research is clear that social support can significantly boost recovery from illness, both physically and mentally.
The video highlighted that stark contrast between patients recovering from surgery who had strong support systems and those who felt isolated and alone.
Exactly. And the research goes beyond anecdotal evidence.
Yeah.
There are numerous studies showing that positive social connections can reduce stress hormones, improve immune function, and even speed up healing time.
Wow.
It's powerful stuff.
It makes you appreciate how wired we are for connection and how those connections play a vital role in our overall well-being. What are your thoughts on this? How would you describe your own support system? Are there areas you could strengthen?
Yeah, that's a great question for all of us to consider.
This has been incredibly insightful so far. We've covered so much ground, from the neuroscience of empathy to the impact of social intelligence on relationship stress and even recovery from illness. I'm particularly drawn to the story of Pamela the teacher and Maeva, her student. It really highlights social intelligence in action.
That's one of my favorites, too.
Yeah.
It's a perfect example of how social intelligence can make a real difference in someone's life.
Pamela could have easily dismissed Maeva as a problem child,
Yeah.
as some of her colleagues had, but instead she chose to dig deeper and understand the reasons behind Maeva's behavior.
And it was Pamela's social intelligence that allowed her to see beyond the surface and recognize that Maeva was struggling with a learning disability, not a behavioral issue.
And that simple act of understanding and providing support completely transformed Maeva's educational experience.
It's a powerful example of how social intelligence can combat bias and stereotypes. Pamela's willingness to connect with Maeva on a human level, rather than relying on preconceived notions, allowed her to see Maeva's potential and help her succeed.
Yeah.
It's a valuable lesson for all of us, regardless of our role in society. We all have the power to impact others through empathetic understanding.
We've covered so much in this deep dive, from the neurological basis of empathy to the impact of social intelligence on our relationships, stress levels, and even our ability to heal. It's clear that this is way more than just being a people person.
Absolutely. It's not just about being nice or likable. It's about understanding ourselves and others, navigating complex social situations with grace and empathy, and ultimately building a more compassionate and just world.
And before we move on, I want to come back to something that really resonated with me, the idea that we can actually train our social intelligence.
Right.
It's not a fixed trait that we're stuck with. We can actively get better at this.
That's such an important message. Just like we can strengthen our physical muscles at the gym, we can strengthen our empathy muscles through practice and mindful attention.
So instead of thinking, I'm just not a social person, we can reframe it as, I'm working on building my social intelligence.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is that even small changes can have a ripple effect, impacting not only our own lives, but the lives of those around us. Small steps lead to big changes.
That's really empowering. I'm already thinking about how I can apply these insights to my own life and interactions. We'll be right back after a short break to explore some specific strategies you can use to boost your social intelligence. Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about how we can actually train our social intelligence.
Yeah.
It's not just something we're born with. I'm excited to dig into some practical strategies we can all use to strengthen these empathy muscles. What are some key takeaways for our listener?
One of the most important skills highlighted in both the article and video is active listening.
Okay.
It's not enough to just hear the words someone is saying.
Right.
You need to truly engage with their message, both what they're saying and how they're saying it.
So it's more than just putting away your phone and making eye contact, although those are great starting points.
Absolutely. It goes deeper than that. Active listening involves reflecting back what you've heard to make sure you understand, asking clarifying questions,
Yeah.
and paying attention to the speaker's emotional cues. It's about making the other person feel truly seen and heard. Think of it as a form of empathy in action.
It sounds like a skill that takes practice, like learning a new language.
Yeah.
You can't just memorize a phrase book. You have to immerse yourself in the conversation.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
The more you practice active listening, the more natural it will become, and the rewards are huge.
Yeah.
Stronger relationships, better communication, and a deeper sense of connection with the people around you.
The sources also talked about the importance of emotional regulation. What exactly does that mean, and how does it relate to social intelligence?
Emotional regulation is all about managing your own emotions effectively,
Okay.
especially in challenging or stressful situations. It's about being aware of your emotional triggers and developing strategies to respond in a healthy and constructive way.
So instead of blowing up at someone when you're angry, you take a moment to pause, breathe, and choose a more thoughtful response.
Exactly. It's not about suppressing your emotions, but about channeling them in a way that supports positive interactions. Think of it like this. Imagine you're driving a car.
Yeah.
Your emotions are the engine, powerful and capable of propelling you forward. But emotional regulation is the steering wheel,
Okay.
allowing you to control the direction and avoid crashes.
That's a great analogy. It makes me think about the importance of self-awareness.
Yeah.
You can't regulate your emotions if you don't even recognize what you're feeling in the first place.
You're absolutely right. Self-awareness is the foundation of emotional regulation, and it's essential for social intelligence. It's about understanding your own strengths and weaknesses, your values and beliefs, and how your behavior impacts others.
So how can we cultivate greater self-awareness? Are there specific things we can do to become more in tune with our own emotions and thought patterns?
There are many paths to self-discovery. Mindfulness practices like meditation can help you become more aware of your thoughts and feelings in the present moment.
Yeah.
Journaling can help you track your emotional responses over time and identify patterns, and don't underestimate the power of feedback from trusted friends or mentors.
Right.
Sometimes others can see things in us that we miss.
It sounds like it's about creating space for reflection,
Yeah,
both internally and through conversations with people we trust.
that's a great way to put it. The more self-aware we become, the more equipped we are to build meaningful connections and navigate the complexities of human interaction.
The YouTube video also highlighted the importance of perspective taking, which seems closely related to empathy, but maybe a little different.
You've got a sharp eye. Perspective taking is a crucial aspect of social intelligence,
Okay.
and it goes hand in hand with empathy. It's about stepping outside of your own viewpoint and trying to see the world through another person's eyes. Imagine you're trying on different pairs of glasses, each one offering a unique view of the world.
That's a great visual. And it reminds me of something we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
how cultural differences can shape our perceptions. Perspective taking seems especially important when we're interacting with people from different backgrounds or cultures.
Exactly. It requires a willingness to challenge your own assumptions, to consider alternative viewpoints,
Right.
and to acknowledge that there are often multiple valid perspectives on any given situation. It's about recognizing that your way of seeing things isn't the only way.
So if you're having a disagreement with someone, instead of digging in your heels and insisting that you're right, you try to understand why they might see things differently.
Precisely. Perspective taking allows for more constructive communication, greater empathy, and a willingness to find common ground, even amidst disagreement. It's about moving from I'm right, you're wrong, to let's understand each other better.
I'm starting to realize just how complex social intelligence really is. It's not just one thing.
Right.
It's a whole collection of skills, attitudes, and behaviors that work together to help us navigate the social world.
You're exactly right, and as we've discussed, it's something we can all develop and strengthen throughout our lives. It's a lifelong journey of learning and growth.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what are some final thoughts for our listener as they embark on their own quest to cultivate greater social intelligence? Where do we go from here?
I would encourage your listener to approach this journey with curiosity, compassion, and a healthy dose of patience. Be kind to yourself, embrace the learning process, and celebrate your progress along the way. It's not about becoming a social butterfly overnight. It's about making intentional choices to connect more authentically.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Right, exactly.
We're all works in progress when it comes to social intelligence.
Exactly. And remember, social intelligence is not a destination. It's a way of being in the world. It's about making conscious choices each day to connect with others authentically, to cultivate empathy and understanding, and to contribute to a more compassionate and just society.
This deep dive has been truly eye-opening, and I'm already thinking about how I can apply these insights to my own life. I'm sure our listener is feeling inspired too. We'll be right back to wrap up this episode with some final reflections and takeaways. Welcome back to our deep dive into social intelligence. It's been quite a journey. We've explored how our brains are wired for connection, the impact of empathy, and even practical strategies for strengthening our social skills. What's really sticking with me is this idea of social intelligence as a superpower.
Yeah.
Not in a comic book sense,
Right.
but in its potential to make a real difference in the world.
I love that analogy. It captures the essence of what we've been discussing. Social intelligence empowers us to navigate the complexities of human relationships, to build bridges of understanding, and to create positive change in our communities and beyond.
The story of Pamela and Maeva, the teacher and student, is a perfect example of that transformative power. Pamela's social intelligence allowed her to see potential where others saw problems, and her belief in Maeva unlocked a whole new world of possibilities.
It's a powerful reminder that we all have the capacity to make a difference through social intelligence.
Yeah.
Whether we're teachers, parents, friends, or colleagues. Our ability to connect with others, understand their perspectives, and offer support can have a profound impact.
It's like a ripple effect. One act of empathy, one moment of understanding can set off a chain reaction of positive change that extends far beyond the initial interaction.
Beautifully put, and reinforces the idea that social intelligence isn't a fixed trait. It's something we can all cultivate and strengthen through practice and intentionality. We can all choose to be more empathetic, more understanding, and more socially aware.
And as we make those choices, we not only enrich our own lives, but we also contribute to a more compassionate and just world for everyone.
Couldn't agree more. Social intelligence isn't just about individual well-being. Got it. It's about building a better future together, one connection at a time.
This deep dive has been truly illuminating. We've only just scratched the surface of this fascinating topic, but I feel like we've gained some valuable insights and practical tools to start putting social intelligence into action.
I agree. Social intelligence is a lifelong journey of learning and growth.
Yeah.
And there's always more to discover. But I hope this deep dive has provided you, our listener, with a solid foundation and a renewed sense of inspiration to embark on your own exploration of this powerful human capacity.
So, dear listener, as you go back out into the world, we encourage you to pay attention to the subtle cues in your interactions, to practice active listening, and to consciously cultivate empathy and understanding in all your relationships. You might be amazed by the transformative power of these small but significant actions.
Until next time, keep diving deep, keep learning, and keep connecting.
And remember, the world needs your unique blend of social intelligence. Go out there and make it a better place.